Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Every Day. I'm Sarah Mitchell.
And I'm David Chen. Hey everyone, great to have you here with us today.
Before we dive into today's amazing episode, if you're new here, welcome to our community. We make learning English fun, practical, and super engaging. So please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode.
And if you're already part of our English Everyday family, show us some love. Give this video a big thumbs up. It really helps us reach more English learners around the world, and honestly, it makes our day when we see those likes rolling in.
Now, here's what we really want to know from you. What English topics are giving you trouble? Is it pronunciation, business meetings, everyday conversations, job interviews? Comment down below and tell us what you'd like us to cover in future episodes.
We read every single comment, and your feedback directly shapes our content. You are the reason we create these videos, so please don't be shy. Let us know what you need help with.
All right, so today we're tackling something incredibly powerful and useful: storytelling. Whether you're at a party, in a job interview, catching up with friends, or giving a presentation, knowing how to tell a good story in English is a game changer.
Absolutely. Great storytellers are memorable, engaging, and people love listening to them. And guess what? Storytelling is a skill you can learn. It's not just natural talent. There are specific techniques and phrases that make stories come alive.
Today, we'll teach you how to structure a story, use vivid vocabulary, create suspense, make your listeners laugh, and most importantly, keep people engaged from start to finish.
We'll cover story openings, building tension, descriptive language, dialogue, pacing, and powerful endings. Plus, we'll share tons of examples and even tell you some of our own stories.
So grab your notepads, get comfortable, and let's turn you into an amazing English storyteller. Ready, David?
Let's do this.
Okay, so first question. David, why is storytelling so important in English?
Great question. Storytelling is how we connect with people. When you tell a good story, you're not just sharing information, you're creating an experience. People remember stories way better than facts or data.
Exactly. In professional settings, stories make your presentations more compelling. In social situations, they make you interesting and fun to talk to. And when you're learning English, practicing storytelling improves your vocabulary, grammar, and confidence all at once.
So, let's start with the basic structure that every good story follows. It's actually really simple. It has three main parts: the beginning, the middle, and the end. Or, as we call them in storytelling, the setup, the conflict, and the resolution.
The setup is where you introduce the situation. Who are the characters? Where does it take place? When did it happen? This sets the scene for your listeners.
The conflict, or the middle, is where something interesting happens. There's a problem, a challenge, a surprise, or something unexpected. This is the meat of your story, the part that keeps people listening.
And the resolution, or ending, is how everything wraps up. What happened in the end? What did you learn? How did it turn out? A good ending gives your story a satisfying conclusion.
Let me give you a super quick example of this structure. Setup. Last weekend, I went hiking with my friend Tom. Conflict. Halfway up the mountain, we realized we'd forgotten our water bottles. Resolution. Luckily, we met another hiker who shared water with us, and we made it to the top.
Perfect example. See how even that simple story has all three parts? It's complete and satisfying. Now, you can make stories longer and more detailed, but this basic structure should always be there.
Here's a pro tip. Before you tell a story, think about these three parts in your head. Even if it's just for 5 seconds, mentally outline your setup, conflict, and resolution. This keeps you focused and prevents rambling.
Yes, rambling is the enemy of good storytelling. We've all heard someone tell a story that goes on forever with no point. Don't be that person.
Exactly. Okay, so now that we have the structure, let's talk about how to actually start a story in English.
The first sentence of your story is crucial. It needs to grab attention and make people want to hear more. Let's learn some great opening phrases.
One of the most common and effective openings is, "You won't believe what happened to me." This immediately creates curiosity. People want to know what happened.
Another great one, So this is kind of a crazy story, but, or I have to tell you the funniest thing that happened yesterday. Both of these set expectations and get people interested.
You can also start with the most dramatic moment. There I was, standing at the edge of a cliff with nowhere to go. Then you go back and explain how you got there. This is called starting in medias res, in the middle of things.
Ooh, I love that technique. It hooks people immediately. Other strong openings include, let me tell you about the time I, or have I ever told you about when I, or, okay, so picture this.
Picture this is excellent because it immediately engages the listener's imagination. You're telling them to visualize the scene you're about to describe.
You can also reference time to set the scene, back in college, or when I was living in Tokyo, or just last week. This gives context right away.
Here's what you want to avoid. Weak openings like, there was this one time. Too many filler words make you sound unsure. Start strong and confident.
Let's practice. I'll give you a scenario and you create a strong opening for it, David.
Bring it on.
You locked yourself out of your apartment while wearing pajamas.
Okay, so I have to tell you about the most embarrassing moment of my life. Picture this. It's 6 in the morning, I'm in my Spider-Man pajamas, and I'm locked out of my apartment with no phone, no keys, and no dignity.
That's perfect. See how immediately engaging that is? You set the scene, created curiosity, and added humor. Now I want to hear the rest.
That's the goal. Hook them in the first few seconds. Your turn, Sarah. Create an opening for you met a celebrity at a coffee shop.
You won't believe who I ran into yesterday at Starbucks. I'm standing in line, minding my own business, when I look to my left, and I kid you not, Ryan Reynolds is ordering a latte right next to me.
Amazing. And notice how Sarah used you won't believe to create anticipation, then I kid you not to emphasize the truth of it. These little phrases add so much flavor.
Exactly. Other useful phrases for openings include, this is absolutely true, or I'm not making this up, or I swear this really happened. These phrases work especially well for unbelievable stories.
All right, so you've got your powerful opening. Now let's talk about how to build the story and keep people engaged throughout.
Once you've hooked your listener, you need to build your story with vivid details. The difference between a boring story and a captivating one is often just in the details.
Right. Instead of saying the weather was bad, say it was pouring rain, the kind where you're soaked within seconds. See the difference? One is vague, the other is vivid.
Descriptive language engages the senses: sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. Let's break this down. For visual descriptions, use specific adjectives. The room was tiny versus the room was cramped and dimly lit with peeling wallpaper.
For sounds, instead of it was loud, try the music was blasting so loud I could feel it in my chest, or there was this awful screeching sound that made my teeth hurt.
Smells are powerful. The kitchen smelled like fresh-baked cookies, or there was this musty odor like old books mixed with damp basement.
For touch and physical sensations, my hands were freezing becomes my fingers were so numb I couldn't feel them, or the heat was unbearable, sweat was dripping down my back.
Now, here's the key. You don't need to describe everything in detail. Choose the most important or interesting details. Too much description can be overwhelming.
Exactly. Pick 2 or 3 vivid details that really matter to the story. Let me demonstrate. I walked into the abandoned house. The floor creaked with every step. Cobwebs hung from every corner, and there was this eerie silence, like the house was holding its breath.
Ooh, that's good. You gave a sound, sight, and even a metaphor with the house holding its breath. That makes it come alive.
Now, let's talk about showing versus telling. This is huge in storytelling. Instead of telling your listener how you felt, show them through your actions and reactions.
Don't say, I was really scared. Instead say, my heart was pounding, my hands were shaking, and I couldn't catch my breath. The second version lets the listener experience your fear.
Other examples, instead of saying she was angry, say her face turned red, her jaw clenched, and she spoke through gritted teeth. Instead of I was exhausted, say I could barely keep my eyes open and every step felt like I was walking through quicksand.
This technique makes your story so much more engaging. Let's also talk about using specific nouns instead of generic ones. Don't say car, say beat up Honda Civic or brand new Tesla. Don't say dog, say massive German Shepherd or tiny Chihuahua.
Yes, specific details create clear mental images. Instead of saying, we went to a restaurant, say, we went to this hole-in-the-wall Italian place on 5th Street. See how much more interesting that is?
Now let's practice building a story with descriptive language. David, tell us about the first time you tried to cook a complicated meal.
Oh no, okay. So, picture this. I decided to make beef Wellington for the first time. Huge mistake. I'm standing in my kitchen, surrounded by puff pastry that somehow stuck to everything. The counter, my hands, even my hair somehow. The beef is looking more like charcoal than meat because I left it in too long, and the mushroom duxels, well, let's just say it looked more like gray paste than the elegant filling it's supposed to be. The whole kitchen smelled like burnt dreams and broken ambitions.
Burnt dreams and broken ambitions. I love it. See how David used specific details, sensory descriptions, and even humor? That's what makes a story memorable.
Thank you, thank you. It was a disaster, but at least it makes a good story.
That's an important point. Sometimes the best stories come from things going wrong. Disasters, mistakes, and embarrassing moments make for the most entertaining narratives.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about pacing and creating tension, because this is where stories get really exciting.
All right, this is where we turn good stories into great stories by creating tension and suspense. Even if you're not telling a scary story, building anticipation keeps people on the edge of their seats.
Tension comes from uncertainty. Your listeners don't know what's going to happen next, and you control how quickly you reveal information. One powerful technique is called the slow reveal.
Instead of saying, I opened the door and saw a bear, build it up. I slowly reached for the doorknob. My hand was shaking. I turned it, the door creaked open, and there, standing right in front of me, was a massive grizzly bear.
See how breaking it into smaller steps creates anticipation? Each pause makes the listener lean in closer. Strategic pauses are your best friend in storytelling.
You can also use foreshadowing, hinting at something bad about to happen. Phrases like, little did I know, or if I had known what was coming, or that's when things took a turn. These phrases tell listeners to brace themselves.
Another great technique is the everything was going well until pattern. You build up a nice, calm scenario, then bam, something unexpected happens. The hike was beautiful, the weather was perfect, everything was going smoothly, until we turned the corner and saw the trail had completely washed out.
Yes, that contrast between calm and chaos is very effective. You can also use sensory warnings to build tension. That's when I heard it, a strange scratching sound coming from the basement. Or, something didn't feel right. The air was too still, too quiet. Time-related phrases add urgency. We only had 10 minutes to get there, or time was running out, or I had to make a decision, fast. This makes listeners feel the pressure you felt.
Let's talk about the power of the ellipsis, those dramatic pauses we mentioned. When you reach a crucial moment, pause for a beat. Look at your listener. Let the tension build. Then deliver the payoff.
It's like this. I opened the email from my boss. Pause. And my heart dropped. The project I'd spent 6 months on, pause, had been canceled. Those pauses give weight to important moments.
Now, here's something important. Don't overdo it. If you create tension for too long without payoff, people get frustrated. Build tension, deliver a moment, then build again. It's a rhythm.
Let me demonstrate the difference. Version 1, no tension. I was walking in the woods and I saw a snake, so I ran away. Version 2, with tension. I was walking through the woods, enjoying the peaceful morning. When I heard this rattling sound, I froze. My eyes scanned the ground, and that's when I saw it. Coiled just inches from my boot, a massive rattlesnake. For a second, we just stared at each other. Then, moving as slowly as possible, I backed away, step by careful step, until I was far enough to turn and run.
Wow. Same basic story, but version 2 had me completely engaged. You used pausing, specific details, and that moment of eye contact with the snake to create real tension.
That's the power of good storytelling technique. Now, let's talk about dialogue, because adding what people actually said can make your stories even more dynamic. Dialogue brings stories to life. Instead of summarizing what someone said, quote them directly. It's more immediate and engaging.
Compare these. My boss told me I did a good job versus my boss looked at me and said, David, this is the best work you've ever done. I'm genuinely impressed. Which one is more powerful?
Definitely the second one. Direct dialogue feels real and lets listeners imagine the scene. When you use dialogue, try to capture how people actually speak, including their tone, emotion, and personality.
You can even change your voice slightly for different characters. You don't need to do full impersonations, but a small shift in tone helps listeners distinguish between people in your story.
For example, if I'm telling a story about my grandmother, I might make my voice a bit gentler and slower. She put her hand on mine and said, Sarah dear, everything happens for a reason. See how that feels different from my normal speaking voice?
Perfect. Now, when introducing dialogue, use varied tags. Don't just say said every time. You can use whispered, shouted, muttered, exclaimed, replied, asked, demanded, or even just describe the action.
Right, like, she slammed the door and turned to me, I can't believe you did that. Or, he leaned in close and whispered, don't look now, but someone's watching us. The action adds context to the words.
You can also show emotion through dialogue itself. Instead of she said angrily, you can write she snapped, fine, do whatever you want. The word choice and punctuation convey the anger.
Internal dialogue is powerful too. Share your thoughts in the moment, like, I'm standing there thinking, this is it. This is how I die, eaten by a bear while wearing Crocs. That adds humor and lets listeners into your head.
The Crocs detail makes it. Okay, let's also talk about dialect and slang. If someone in your story spoke with an accent or used specific slang, you can incorporate that, but be careful not to overdo it or mock anyone.
Good point. Maybe just hint at it. Like, my taxi driver had a thick Brooklyn accent and kept saying, forget about it. You don't need to write out every word phonetically, just give the flavor.
Let's practice. Sarah, tell me a quick story using dialogue. Make it something simple, like ordering at a restaurant.
Okay, so I walked into this fancy restaurant last week, and the host greeted me, good evening, do you have a reservation? And I said, yes, under Mitchell. He scrolled through his tablet, his eyebrows furrowed. I'm not seeing it. My heart sank. Are you sure? I booked it 3 weeks ago. He kept looking, then his face brightened. Ah, found it. It was under Sarah without the H. I let out this huge sigh of relief. Oh, thank goodness. Yes, that's me.
Perfect. You used dialogue to move the story forward, showed emotion through actions like his eyebrows furrowed and my heart sank, and it felt like we were right there with you.
Thanks. See, everyone? Dialogue doesn't have to be complicated. Just recreate the conversation as naturally as you can remember it and add those little descriptive touches.
Let's talk about pacing, how fast or slow you tell your story. This is crucial for maintaining interest.
For exciting or tense moments, speed up. Use shorter sentences, quick actions, and don't pause much. I ran. The door slammed behind me. Footsteps, getting closer. I had to hide. Now.
For emotional or important moments, slow down. Give details, let things breathe. I opened the letter, my hands trembling. Inside was a single photograph, my father holding me as a baby, smiling bigger than I'd ever seen him smile.
You control the rhythm. Fast pacing creates excitement and urgency. Slow pacing creates emotion and emphasis. Mix them up to keep your story dynamic.
Now, transitions are how you move between different parts of your story. Good transitions keep things flowing smoothly. Use phrases like, meanwhile, at the same time, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, the next day, hours later.
You can also use transitional phrases that signal time. After that, before I knew it, suddenly, eventually. These guide your listener through the timeline.
To keep people engaged, occasionally check in with your audience. Can you imagine? Or you know what I mean? Or right? These little phrases make it conversational, not like you're giving a monologue.
But don't overdo the checking in. Once or twice in a story is enough. Too much and it becomes annoying. Find the balance.
Also, avoid getting sidetracked. If you start telling this story about getting lost in Tokyo, don't suddenly spend 5 minutes explaining Japanese subway systems. Stay focused on your main narrative.
You can say, anyway, or, but I'm getting off track, to redirect yourself if you do wonder. Then get right back to the main story.
We're getting close to the end, which brings us to endings. How you finish your story is just as important as how you start it.
A good ending gives closure and leaves an impression. There are several types of endings you can use. First, the resolution ending. Everything wraps up neatly. And that's how I learned to never trust GPS in the mountains.
Second, the twist ending. You surprise the listener at the last second. I finally made it home, exhausted and relieved. I reached for my keys and that's when I realized they were still in the ignition of my car, which was now towed.
Oh no. Third, the reflective ending. You share what you learned or how it changed you. Looking back, that was the moment I realized I was stronger than I thought. Sometimes we don't know what we're capable of until we have no other choice.
Fourth, the funny punchline ending. You end with humor. So there I am, covered in spaghetti sauce, and my date looks at me and says, "So, should we order dessert?" The whole story builds to that funny moment.
For funny stories, the punchline is everything. Build up all the ridiculous details, then deliver the final funny bit with perfect timing. Pause right before it if you need to, then deliver it cleanly.
Whatever ending style you choose, make it clear you're done. Don't trail off or keep adding, "oh, and also" stories. End decisively. Some good ending phrases, "and that's the story of," or "so yeah, that happened," or "and I've never done that again."
You can also end with a callback to your opening. If you started with, "you won't believe what happened," you can end with, "so now you see why I said you wouldn't believe it." This creates nice symmetry.
Let's practice endings. I'll tell a quick story and try different ending styles. Here's the setup. I accidentally wore mismatched shoes to an important presentation.
Okay, give us version 1, resolution ending.
I survived the presentation, and afterward, my colleague said she hadn't even noticed my shoes. Turns out, people were paying attention to my ideas, not my feet. Lesson learned, confidence matters more than matching shoes.
Good. Now try a twist ending.
I survived the presentation, and afterward, I rushed to the bathroom to check my shoes. That's when I realized they weren't even my shoes. I'd grabbed my roommate's by mistake.
Oh no. Okay, now a funny punchline ending.
After the presentation, my boss called me into his office. I was terrified. He looked at me seriously and said, "David, I noticed you're starting a new fashion trend. Next week, I'm wearing 2 different ties."
Perfect. See how the same basic story can have completely different impacts depending on how you end it?
Exactly. Choose your ending based on what feeling you want to leave your listener with. Do you want them laughing, thinking, inspired? Your ending creates that final emotion.
Before we wrap up, let's quickly cover common mistakes that can ruin an otherwise good story.
Mistake number 1, too much backstory. Don't spend 10 minutes explaining context before getting to the actual story. Give just enough information to understand what's happening, then jump in.
Mistake number 2, including irrelevant details. Your story doesn't need every tiny thing that happened. Focus on what matters to the main plot. If what your cousin's friend was wearing doesn't affect the story, cut it.
Mistake number 3, losing your train of thought. This happens. If you forget where you were going, just say, "Wait, what was I saying?" Or "Let me back up for a second."
Don't panic, just refocus and continue.
Mistake number 4, explaining the joke or moral of the story. If you end a funny story by saying, "and that's funny because," you've killed it. Trust your audience to get it. If they don't, that's okay. Move on.
And finally, mistake number 7, bad timing. Read the room. If everyone's grieving or stressed, don't launch into a funny story about your vacation. Match your story to the mood and moment.
Wow, we've covered so much today, from story structure to dialogue, pacing, and powerful endings. You now have all the tools to become an engaging storyteller in English.
Remember, storytelling is a skill that improves with practice. The more stories you tell, the better you'll get. Don't be afraid to try these techniques in real conversations.
Start small. Practice telling short stories about your day. What happened at lunch, a funny thing your pet did, an interesting person you met. Build your confidence with simple narratives first.
And pay attention to good storytellers. When you hear someone tell a great story, notice what techniques they use. What made you engaged? How did they structure it? Learn from the masters.
Now, we want to hear from you. What topics are you struggling with in English? Comment down below and tell us what you'd like us to cover in future videos. Your suggestions shape our content.
And if you found this episode helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Hit that like button. It helps us reach more English learners and keeps us motivated to create more content for you.
If you haven't already, subscribe to English Every Day and turn on notifications. We post new episodes every week with practical, engaging English lessons just like this one.
Share this video with your friends, classmates, or anyone learning English. Help us build this amazing community of English learners.
Before we go, here's your homework. This week, tell someone a story using at least 3 techniques we taught today. Maybe add dialogue, use descriptive language, or create some tension. Then come back and tell us how it went in the comments.
We love hearing about your progress. Remember, you've got this. You're already on your way to becoming a captivating storyteller in English.
Thank you so much for watching English Every Day. Keep practicing, keep improving, and most importantly, keep telling your stories.
See you in the next episode. Until then, happy storytelling, everyone.
Bye!
Bye!